The National Guard is in D.C., but is Chicago next? Why the mayor and governor are telling Trump, hands off. Plus, his freedom might be short-lived. Kilmar Abrego Garcia faces an ultimatum this morning, and his deportation clock is ticking. And ordered something overseas? Don't count on it. How confusion over Trump's new tariffs is jamming up deliveries. The stories that matter, clear and credible, from across the country to around the world. These are your unbiased updates from Straight Arrow News. Good morning, I'm Craig DeGrelli. As the federal takeover of the Washington police force enters week 3, some National Guard troops on the streets of D.C. are now armed. More than 2,000 guardsmen from multiple states are deployed under President Trump's crime crackdown in the Capitol. A Defense Department official says most will carry service pistols, but a small number will be issued rifles. The troops are concentrated in high tourist areas like Union Station and the National Mall. Commanders say they can use their weapons only for self-defense and as, quote, a last resort if they face an imminent threat of death or serious harm. For now, their mission has not changed, guarding landmarks and providing a visible presence. They're still not making arrests and remain on the sidelines of law enforcement in the district. Same topic now. While the takeover in Washington continues, the White House is now zeroing in on another city, Chicago. Over the weekend, city and state officials blasted the idea of a National Guard deployment, calling it unlawful, unnecessary, and a political stunt. The Washington Post first reported that the Pentagon has been drawn into discussions considering options to send Guard troops as early as September. President Trump framing the move as a crackdown on crime and immigration.
So we're going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent, and we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this, and it won't even be tough.
Trump has long painted Chicago as crime-ridden, even as city data shows violent crime is actually falling. Mayor Brandon Johnson says homicides are down more than 30% in the past year, shootings by nearly 40%.
This is who Chicago really is. What's being painted by the federal government is false. We love one another. We support one another. We put our arms around one another.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker called Trump's plan a manufactured crisis to score political points, posting, Donald Trump is attempting to manufacture a crisis, politicize Americans who serve in uniform, and continue abusing his power to distract from the pain he's causing families. Former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel went even further, telling CNN Sunday the threat has little to do with crime.
When you look at what he did in D.C., he's not going to actually deal with crime. This is an attempt to get the goods through customs. This is an attempt to deal with cities that are welcoming cities, known as sanctuary cities, and deal with immigration.
If approved, Chicago would be the third city to face a federal deployment in recent months, following crackdowns in Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. The White House is talking of progress in its push to end the war in Ukraine. Vice President J.D. Vance says Russia has made, quote, significant concessions, but so far there's little evidence of a breakthrough. Vance argues the Kremlin is backing off some of its earlier demands, including installing a puppet regime in Kyiv. Appearing on NBC, he called it the first sign of flexibility in 3.5 years of fighting.
I think the Russians have made significant concessions to President Trump for the first time in 3.5 years of this conflict. They've actually been willing to be flexible on some of their core demands. They've talked about what would be necessary to end the war. Of course, they haven't been completely there yet, or the war would be over, but we're engaging in this diplomatic process in good faith. We are trying to negotiate as much as we can with both the Russians and the Ukrainians to find a middle ground to stop the killing.
But Ukrainian President Zelensky says Moscow still does not want to end the war. There's no meeting planned between Zelensky and Vladimir Putin, despite Donald Trump's push and the White House saying last week that such a meeting is set to happen in just weeks. There was one small sign of dialogue over the weekend. Russia and Ukraine swapped 146 prisoners of war on each side in a deal mediated by the United Arab Emirates. Many had been held since 2022. And as Ukraine marked Independence Day, the fighting has intensified. Russia claims Ukrainian drones struck energy facilities inside its borders this past weekend, while Kyiv reports downing dozens of Russian drones overnight. The immigration case that's become a flashpoint in President Trump's crackdown takes another turn this morning. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, born in El Salvador, living in Maryland with his wife and child, must report to ICE in Baltimore. He's facing deportation. The question is, where to? Abrego Garcia walked free on Friday from a Tennessee jail, greeted with cheers, flowers, and chants of, "Yes, we did it," as he embraced his family after more than 160 days in detention. But his freedom could be short-lived. ICE has ordered him to report this morning, telling his lawyers the administration intends to deport him to Uganda after he rejected a deal to go to Costa Rica if he pleaded guilty and stayed in jail. Back in March, he was wrongfully deported to El Salvador due to a paperwork error. Instead of letting him go, the administration fought to keep him in custody, accusing him of MS-13 gang ties, which he and his supporters strongly deny. Postal services around the world are hitting pause on deliveries to the United States. The move comes amid confusion over President Trump's new tariff rules. Starting Friday, the exemption for low-cost packages under $800 disappears. Postal services in countries like Britain, France, Germany, Italy, and Belgium say they don't know how the duties will be collected or processed, so they are stopping shipments for now. Under the new rules, personal gifts under $100 will still be duty-free, but everything else will be treated like a standard import. Finally this morning, the odds may be astronomical, but so is the payout. Tonight's Powerball drawing is the 10th largest in history, worth more than $750 million. The cash option, not bad, a cool $338 million. Nobody has hit the jackpot in 37 straight drawings. Maybe number 38 won't break the streak. Odds of winning, 1 in 292 million. Odds of daydreaming about winning, pretty much 1 in 1. Somebody will get lucky eventually, we know that. We'll find out tonight at 10:59 Eastern. By the way, they say if you win, not to make any rash decisions right away. So would buying a townhouse near the Denver airport overlooking the Rocky Mountains be a rash decision? I don't think so. How about just an expensive steak dinner at Gibson's Steakhouse in Chicago? Yum. Not a bad option either. All right, before we head out, here's what else we're tracking today. This morning, as a reminder, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is due at the ICE facility in Baltimore. It's a story we'll be monitoring closely today. At noon, President Trump welcomes South Korea's president to the White House. Tariffs, defense, and China all up for discussion. Also at noon, a major cartel kingpin known as El Mayo is expected to plead guilty to drug trafficking in New York. And later this afternoon, a federal judge weighs the question of whether to dismiss a lawsuit over deportations to countries where migrants have no ties. Hey, be the smartest person in the elevator. Sign up for the Unbiased Updates newsletter. Straight to your inbox each morning. Go to san.com/newsletters. Those are your Unbiased Updates for this Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. For all of us at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great day.